Hello and welcome to Disc Dandies, a podcast where each episode, two friends share a recommendation with one another. We talk about what we liked, what we would change, and try not to judge each other too much over our bad taste. This episode, we make a new friend, plus about 1,000 others.
So, Fred, it's a long-standing Disc Dandies tradition that when beginning an episode, you shove as many gummy candies into your mouth in an effort to bother Will.
Okay, I don't have those, but I have unbranded Fig Newtons.
Those will work. Just make sure you smack them, and like whenever you're like picking them out of your gums, you do it right into the microphone.
Hey, man, I don't edit the podcast. You can do whatever you want. No skin off my back. Please make it sound as awful as possible because I ain't got to deal with it.
This week, you kind of misled our listeners with the intro there. We have three friends here.
Oh, okay. Am I one of the friends? Because that ain't right.
I was talking about myself, my new pupper, Henri, and Fred.
I'm Fred.
Yes. Well, I have, you have your pets, I have my pets, and our new friend Frederick has his pets over there too. That's right. This is our very first guest episode with our good friend Frederick. How's it going?
Wait,
Fred?
I'm the first?
Yes, you are our first guest.
Oh, dude, this is so much fucking pressure. I can't handle this. I'm allowed to curse on this podcast, right?
You can curse. Just be very careful about what you say. The CIA is listening to every word you say, and it is going on your permanent record.
Bashed. Hi, I'm Fred. I'm Will's co-host for some other podcast, and I'm here. I exhorted to them last week a game that I like, and I'm going to hear them tear it apart. And I'm very nervous, but I'm very excited.
I think we're going to have a great conversation about this. Yeah, you gave us the exhortation of the classic GameCube game Pikmin, or I guess to be more precise, Pikmin 1. And this was a really great choice. I had never played it, so I was really excited to finally get a excuse to get into that one. Jordan, have you played Pikmin before our exhortation?
Yeah, I played Pikmin 3. I didn't play the first or second. I did own a GameCube. I got it in like 2001 whenever first released. I think it was 2001. Mm-hmm. But yeah. But I got it that Christmas, and I got basically every mainline Nintendo title except for that one.
Yeah. So basically, Fred, you got lucky. We were all able to play it.
Yeah, playing a cult classic game on one of Nintendo's lowest selling consoles, you were in a niche market.
Yeah. I'm a GameCube fiend. It is my favorite system. I think the controller is like the perfect controller. They should have stopped making controllers after that one. So I'm assuming both of you played it on the GameCube version and not the Wii version where you have to point at the screen to throw Pikmin.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It is awful.
Will, you got to come out, man. How did you play this game?
Okay. All right. Okay. Actually, I wanted to talk about this, but I want to do the question first. But I did emulate it, so I played Monster on my computer with a DS4 controller. But I do have things to say about that before. But before we do that, we do have a question of the week, and I believe you have a question for us, Jordan.
Yeah, so we're all unfortunately Magic the Gathering fans, as well as gamers in general. We all have our little interests, whether it be Fire Emblem or Dark Souls or whatever weeby thing Will likes. But if you were stranded on an island, what would your non-gaming hobby be?
Okay. I'll go first. So my non-gaming hobby, well, something that I've dabbled in a little bit is like modeling. Putting together plastic models and painting them. Is this yours, Jordan? Am I stepping on your toes?
No, I was laughing because I thought you meant like runway modeling.
Why were you laughing at the idea of Will modeling, Jordan?
Oh, no reason.
Yes. Okay. So, All right, so that's another hobby of mine. Now I do prefer the like the war games where you do the modeling and then you play a game with them, but that's obviously out of the question here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make very rinky-dink, terrible off-brand Gundam models with things I find on the island. I'm sure we've all seen the life-size, like 50-story tall Gundam that they recently completed in Japan. I'm going to create one of those out of coconuts and seaweed.
Ooh, I love that.
We're going deep.
And then I'm going to fashion like a propulsion jetpack out of used banana peels, and seawater, and then I'll fly to safety. Is what I'm going to do.
Ooh, okay, I like that. I think I would probably just get back into music. Mine was kind of lame. I would try to fashion some instrument from a snake that I killed, and maybe some leaves, and relearn the little bit of music theory that I learned while I was chasing that mistake of a major.
Sounds like good. I think Lil Wayne has a prison album. I think you could have your Deserted Island album. I think this is great. I can't wait to hear that.
Okay.
Okay, so I would be operating under the assumption that I was stranded with items. Hopefully I would have paper and pencils for my hobby.
Cheap.
Is this allowable?
No pencils.
No. This is really good though. This is the only thing I can imagine doing as a hobby outside of gaming. Let me have this.
Okay. What is it?
Okay, so as my ship sank, I made it to shore with a chest full of paper and pencils. I'm going to be doing crossover fan fiction.
You're going to write slash fiction on Deserted Island?
Yeah, I really want to see Goku, macking Bones from Bones. and how these two come together, it doesn't matter. It's the journey to that point, like tracking these two finally meeting.
Okay. Yeah, so you finally write your novel.
Crossover fan fiction.
Sure, okay.
I can't sell it. They're not my properties.
I do not claim ownership of these. This is great. I think that you could probably spend the entirety of the rest of your life on this deserted island, chronicling who could in fact beat Goku and who in fact could not beat Goku, and then have a definitive, exhaustive list of all of the battles. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I think that they've established Goku as just a stupid god tier character that it will always keep getting stronger. But if there was one, it would be Saitama from One Punch Man. We'll not debate this.
Okay, Fred, what is your just ridiculous slash pairing that you would write about on a deserted island? Just any characters out of anything.
I think Saul from the Bible and Tahu Nuva for the Bionicle.
Oh my god.
The red one. I think there's some chemistry there.
I had no idea the Bionicles had colors. That's a world I know nothing about. Fred, one of these days we're going to have a Gut Shot episode about Bionicle. Just like not even question it, make no reference to magic whatsoever, and you can finally tell me what great storytelling and world building that I'm missing from the Bionicle universe.
Yeah, I will mail you some Bionicles and you can build them in real time while we record.
Ooh, I think that's great.
Yeah, we're going to go way off the books here, but there's probably going to be a Bionicle Magic the Gathering crossover set at the rate they're going, right?
That would be the only crossover I would find acceptable.
Sure. Well, great question. That was very thought-provoking. Thank you, Jordan. But I think that we have a lot to say about Pikmin. So why don't we get right into it?
Yep, sounds good. Let's do it.
Fred, you want to kind of give us a little bit of background on what Pikmin is, kind of how it came to be, how it was birthed into our universe?
Yes, for my sins, I will do that. Pikmin was a game released for the only good console in 2001. It was the pet project of Shigeru Miyamoto, and it was actually, so this is kind of an interesting story. They had a tech demo for the GameCube called Super Mario 128 to sort of show off how many models could simultaneously be moving on the GameCube, and they had 128 Marios running around on a pizza. And Miyamoto saw this tech demo and was immediately struck with the idea for Pikmin, and kind of worked. You know how they do at Nintendo, really long nights kind of coming up with his vision, and they kind of pooped it out onto the GameCube to like pretty poor sales, especially stateside. But it became a cult classic, and now every few years, we have to wait a long time. It's no Zelda or Pokemon, but every few years we get a new Pikmin game. We've had two mainline Pikmin games since that have both been very well received by the people who liked the original. It's one of my favorite series. I got the second one first when a relative thought that got it mixed up with Pokemon and bought it for me because they knew I liked Pokemon, and I really liked it. I loved it. And then I got the first one later, and I was a stupid kid, and the first one was way harder, and I just hated it because it was more difficult. But now as an adult, I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, so I'm gonna like echo the sentiment that this. You said this is like based off of a tech demo. This game feels like a tech demo, right?
Yeah, to an extent. They're really pushing the hardware in terms of how many AIs they can have working at once, I would say.
It's just like a pod of ideas. But go ahead, Will. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Oh, yeah, I can kind of see that. It kind of reminds me of like Pixar, how like the Bug's Life, how that was sort of like a proof of concept of like how they could push animation. I could definitely see seeds of that in this game, but I have to say, as a whole, I thought was a pretty good. Like it didn't feel disjointed, as I think that term might lead some people to believe. It definitely feels like a cohesive whole. But I could definitely see where you're saying, Jordan, that there's like seeds of like a proof of concept inside it. Now, I'll just be honest with everyone. I have no experience with Pikmin whatsoever. As I think I mentioned, Jordan said earlier that you've played a little bit of it before. So I want everyone to know that I'm kind of coming from this with completely fresh eyes. I knew what this game was, but I really didn't know what type of gameplay to expect when I got into it.
Yeah, so I picked it up. I actually played Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, Nintendo's other horrible selling console. And
but for good reason.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed that game a lot. So coming into this game, I was already pretty confident I was going to be into it, based off my experiences with 3. I'm going to echo your comments. This game was hard as shit, especially in the later areas. But I do like what my comment about it feeling like a tech demo is more just like you can see that they had a bunch of ideas for this. Like it was very inspired. And they were just kind of like throwing it all to the wall and seeing what stuck. And you can kind of see that with some of its like, maybe missteps too. But I think overall it's like a very experimental game from a studio that I think people already think is pretty experimental to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. I think there was a lot of content cut from this game that was put into the later games because they were kind of overflowing with ideas and kind of just put as many of them in there as they could with sort of reckless abandon. I definitely agree with that. Like the game definitely shows that from a design standpoint.
Well, let's just go ahead and get into initial impressions. You kind of hit on it a little bit, Jordan, but like, what was your impression, going into this game, and what are your top thoughts as you're walking away from it?
So having played a later entry and then coming into an older entry, especially like on the GameCube, I'm gonna go ahead and say like I'm gonna echo Fred's sentiments from earlier. The GameCube was a perfect system. It was criminally undersold. It is my second favorite console of all time. And I also agree that it has the best controller. So, like, someone throwing up a GameCube recommendation was just, like, I already had the biased glasses on going into this game. It was already going to start off pretty high. All that aside, based on the game itself, I think that I was more like focused and intrigued by their answer to like camera controls, because in this era the C-stick camera control thing was not what's the word, it wasn't the standard yet.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah, that exactly. So every game kind of had its own answer to that around this time period. Like Halo, I think, was just about this time, like taking off and like kind of like making a generalized approach. And I think that like my main takeaway was like their answers to that problem were actually pretty intuitive, given that like it's not perfect, but it was pretty close to being like a really good solution to that problem, But I think I'm kind of rambling here, but I think that I like seeing a shorter, because I remember Pikmin 3 being longer, but I like a shorter, more like experimental, very inspired project by Miyamoto that like it has its flaws and blemishes, but also like this is you could tell this is a game that they really wanted to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned, I came into this completely blind, and I gotta be honest, I was a little frustrated at first. This is definitely a game that takes getting used to if you're not used to this, especially going back in time. I'm used to the dual joysticks, controlling cameras. You have to kind of get used to the control scheme that they have here. I actually, just to let everybody know, I got probably about halfway through. I was telling Fred, I got about 13 parts, I think, and finished 15 days. So that's about halfway through the game, right?
Yeah, I would say so, about.
Yeah. So I got probably about halfway through the game, and I could definitely keep playing it if I wanted to. But on the from starting the game to where I am now, I hit a lot of roadblocks. I hit a couple of brick walls where it was like, I killed all my Pikmin and I don't know what to do now. Or like there are so many things I could possibly do, but I don't actually know what any of them are, if any of them are like the right thing, or if they're going to get me to the next goal that I'm trying to. So it was definitely a little frustrating to kind of get my way through it. But overall, I like the experience. I'm actually really glad that I played this. I did have a lot of fun with it and could continue playing it if I wanted to.
Yeah, I think I'd go as far as saying that this has Will vibes. It's a very like off the wall, it's like a if it released today, it would be an indie game that would be like pitched on the fact that it doesn't have like real combat in it, and it's a pretty laid back, chill experience too.
I did not agree with that at all. I understand what you're saying. This was not a chill, like no stress game for me. This was a very high stress game for me, like 100% of the time.
I think I'm with Will on this one. I am not chilled out by playing Pikmin. I'm always like I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I reset if any Pikmin die. But like I'm always trying to beat the game faster than I have before. I actually did beat my record. I beat it in 12 days on this past run.
Wow.
But I don't let any Pikmin die, and I just get really frustrated if they die to something that feels like bullshit, like if they trip and die.
All right, so let me ask you, do you think that's the way? Okay, and can be its own conversation here, but do you think that's the way they intended it for fans to play? Because I saw that people try zero death Pikmin runs.
Oh, fucking absolutely not. I've only ever... so, like, this time I obviously reset if I lost Pikmin, but I've only ever actually beaten the game without losing any Pikmin, without resetting twice in the, like, probably hundreds of times that I've played through that game. I was going for speed runs at one point in my life. I'm terrible at it. But, like, I don't think that was the way it was intended. I think the way it was intended was for you to, like, struggle to get one part a day and, like, spend the rest of the day making more Pikmin because of how many you lost. Like, the game is very, very hard, and I think it expects you to lose a lot of Pikmin.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is what I was thinking, is that, yeah, like, it really does seem like it's intended for you to struggle at the beginning. It was so easy for me to just kill all of my Pikmin accidentally. Like, oh, you don't know that the red ones can't go in water, and then all of a sudden you lost 30 Pikmin, and you just started the game. And it's like, well, can I even keep playing anymore? And obviously you can, but you kind of have to figure out how to do that. And I kind of like that to an extent. It's frustrating when you first hit it, but like once you kind of get it and you have the willpower to kind of push through that, it kind of heightens the reward of figuring it out. It's like, okay, I figured this out, I move on to the next one. So it's like you kind of just keep improving slowly.
Well, this hits on something I had put in the doc. I think the gameplay loop kind of incentivizes multiple playthroughs. Like, you have a playthrough where you get, like, 5 parts and you're just like, fuck this, I want to restart, but now I know a little bit more about the way that the Pikmin behave and the way that the enemies behave. So, like, I'm going to go and then next time I'm going to discover another color of Pikmin. I'm going to get a little bit further, get a little bit more ship parts, and then maybe you do another playthrough and like you just kind of accumulate knowledge. I think it would be laughable to call it a roguelike because obviously like it's not procedurally generated, although I think a procedurally generated roguelike style Pikmin game would be really fun. But like I think it really incentivizes you doing another playthrough with the knowledge you gained from the first playthrough.
That's a really interesting comparison I hadn't thought about because it does have those roguelike vibes with, like a like basic permadeath if you don't finish the game in the allotted days,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a short game too. Like it can be set like if you're Iron Manning it, like promising not to reset, you'll be done with it in like 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The comparison I kept thinking about is Dark Souls, and part of that is because Fred and I have been, part of that is that Jordan and I have been kind of doing a co-op Dark Souls run here and there over the last couple of months. But I got that same vibe. Jordan is the Dark Souls like expert. He knows all the stuff, and I'm a complete noob to that game. So he's showing me the ropes, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff in that game that I would not be able to know the first time that I played. And honestly, I get the same vibes from Pikmin. It's like there are things that I would not know unless I like completely failed a day, just killed all my Pikmin, had no idea what I was doing, but then I learned from that experience. So that's the comparison I kept making.
The Dark Souls design philosophies in like games from this era, where they were kind of generally harder, I think. It was like GameCube era back. I think that these games are designed with the idea that you're not supposed to find everything or do everything on your first playthrough because, I felt like, at least in my household, we had so many fewer games. It was like 2 new games a year, and we would just beat the hell out of these games over and over again. And I think whenever, like in like the modern era of gaming, we buy these games as this is what I'm playing right now, but I could be playing something different in a couple of days or even a week. I think that these games are more trying to be like, you need to like invest in this thing. You need to like really like play it back and forth. Like it's meant for you to like sink your teeth into. And figuring everything out on a first playthrough isn't necessarily like a goal that they had back then. Or even in some games today.
Yeah, kind of like that arcade vibe. Like it's like it wants to eat your quarters, but like you're not giving it quarters. It's just kind of like you're expected to really really learn that game because you're only going to play 1 or 2 different games in a couple of months.
Yeah, and I do think that like game buying habits were a lot different back then, and that's why the industry has grown so much. Is because obviously like our buying habits have changed with time and like how available games are made to us. I think that they do kind of artifice some amount of difficulty by making it so that you have to like really invest to get through it all.
Yeah, I like that design philosophy a lot. I think that's something that I'm really enjoying about like Hades, which I'm playing through right now. That's something I really appreciate about like old Nintendo games. And I'm kind of like a Nintendo biased guy. Like I've never owned a console that's not Nintendo. And I play a lot of games like on my shitty school laptop, but I don't like Nintendo's my only frame of reference. But I can definitely tell I can definitely second what you're saying in terms of like how design philosophy used to be like games that you're really supposed to get into and play a bunch of times. Like the older Fire Emblems were definitely a lot more like that.
See, I knew you two were gonna just really dive deep into like the philosophy of game design. I knew you two would really hit it off in that way. I would say I totally get why you love this game, Frederick. Like when I was playing through it, I thought, yeah, of course he loves this game. It has a wall that you need to get past to get, into the actual meat of the game. But, it's accessible for people who, want to try it out. But the ceiling, there's like almost no ceiling. Like if you are a player, which I know that you are, where you are attracted to optimization and just doing things better and better over and over, there's all sorts of different things that I'm sure you could do to optimize and just try to get those percents, get that time off of your, final score. And so I totally understand why this kind of triggered that part of your brain.
Yeah, that is definitely, my lizard brain likes seeing numbers go up, and this one hits that spot in an interesting way for me.
Yeah,
Sure.
It can definitely fake you out too, because it's like it has such a cute presentation for the most part. You know, like all the little Pikmin and even like Olimar's like word choice and his like end of day logs. But it is very much like a systems mechanics game.
Yeah.
Sure. Can we talk a little bit about the world? I don't know if anything is explained like towards the end of the game when you finish it, but I actually really found myself really vibing with the world. Like the Pikmin aside, which is another thing, but just like the like kind of level design, like the kind of design elements within them. Like I'm not really sure why they were like oversized cans and like soda bottles and like boxes like that. I wonder if that's going to be answered, but I just really like the way, like the design of the world and the enemies. I really I wasn't expecting to be dropped into a very like vibrant like living world, but I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a talent Miyamoto has. If you want to know why that stuff is there, it's not really answered in the first game. Spoilers for Pikmin 2, it's not even really discussed there, but it becomes much clearer that this is sort of a post-apocalyptic Earth in Pikmin 2. The things you collect in Pikmin 2 are treasures that were from human civilization, like bottle caps and fruits and like little pieces of electronics and stuff.
Okay. And Olimar, my boy. I wasn't really into his design at the beginning of the game. I thought he
not
kind
based.
of he looked.
No, I'm saying you're not
dweeby.
based, Willie. That's wrong.
He to me he looked a little dweeby, but I gotta be honest, I really was feeling for the guy. Further into the game, I liked reading the ship logs. For somebody who kind of is just a character you're moving around and doing stuff, I felt a lot of connection to him. I didn't know if maybe you felt that way, Jordan, or something like that.
No, for sure. Like so, when in Pikmin 3, you kind of get the characters you play with, kind of follow, I guess, the design of Olimar, and that they're all the Pikmin protagonists are like explorers and scientists, and they're not meant to be cool. They're meant to be kind of like curious little dudes for the most part. And and like for Olimar specifically, he is just like kind of this like dorky explorer guy, which I love, and I love his logs. At the end of the day, it's not like they're going overboard with like injecting personality into them or anything like that, but it is fun just kind of like having his perspective, and I like my I guess past interactions with Omar have been through like Super Smash Brothers, since I hadn't played this one. But like getting to like see his game has been a lot of fun, because I think that he's actually been like a fun character in it himself.
Yeah, I really like how the end of day logs adapt to what's going on in the game. So sometimes it'll give you a tip with like a boss you've been struggling with, or if you're like behind on days in terms of ship parts, he'll start talking about how he's worried he's not going to see his family again. Mm-hmm. It's just like really interesting stuff that sort of, and the way he talks about the Pikmin is very like sort of like blank and like a Wikipedia entry sort of, but it has like his kind of charm to it. I really love the way that he's written and the way it sort of portrays the juxtaposition between him being surrounded by the Pikmin but feeling incredibly lonely.
Yeah, and the Pikmin are just so cute, man. I fell in love. That's the best part of this game for me, is just like seeing the Pikmin and seeing them like do their own little things and how they react to you. Like that really is for me. That was like the soul of the game, and it broke my heart when like I would leave one behind or when I would accidentally drown a whole bunch. Man, it was heartbreaking.
While I'm thinking about it, I would really encourage you to check out Pikmin 3 if you ever get a chance to, Will, because they take this world and they like set it. They make everything like realistic looking. Fred, you said you played 3, right?
I have no death run to all of them countless times. It is my favorite series. I also have 3 Deluxe on the Switch, and Will, you're welcome to borrow it.
Yes, I will one of these days.
I highly recommend it, because like if you think that this is like cute and the Pikmin are cute in this, they just like really go hard in that game with like capitalizing on that.
Sure. This might be a silly question, but I'm going to ask it. I'm going to not save it for the quick hits. But do you have a favorite color of Pikmin? I just love the ears on the yellow ones. Like that just gets me every time.
Yeah, no, same here. The yellow ones have always been like, and even like in Pikmin 3, like I just like the yellow ones, and I like I mean, they're not like hard. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Fred, but like they're not like hard better than the reds, because aren't the reds like better at combat or something like that?
Yeah, the reds do twice as much damage. I'm a Magic player, so they're my favorite.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, yeah, the yellow are my favorite just because they are like the first introduction to utility in the game, like letting you like pick items up with them and toss them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If reds weren't given to you first, you could technically beat the game without them too. The fire is minimal enough that you can beat the game without red Pikmin, but their combat, the double damage that they do, just like if you're going to fight a boss that's not literally in the water, there's no reason to use anything but reds, really. If we're talking about the other Pikmin games, the purples are my favorite because they just break that game in half. They're too good. And then the rock Pikmin from Pikmin 3, which fills sort of the same role. But you know me, I'm a huge Spike, so I've got to say the reds. They're the most efficient for killing enemies.
Which Pikmin destroy lands?
That would be yellow, right?
Purple.
Not purple. You don't think it's yellow?
Yeah, I guess it would be yellow because they can blow down the bomb rock walls.
Yeah, like just because they literally do it.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right. We kind of already got into controls, but I do have one nitpick about the game, and I don't think this was ever explained, and if it was, I still would think it was inadequate for how it was explained. But the game, at the beginning, the game never really explains to you how you're supposed to initiate combat or how you're actually supposed to control the Pikmin in the world. Frederick, you might remember a little bit into me starting the game, I was like messaging you on Discord, like, how do I get the Pikmin to attach to the part? And I couldn't figure it out because I didn't know you were supposed to use the C-stick to swarm the Pikmin to get them to pick up the part. That part was a major source of frustration for me starting this game.
Yeah, it does a brief explanation when you like pluck the first Pikmin and when you have to like get more pellet posies to get more Pikmin. But yeah, it might not do a good enough job. I just know I learned these things at such a young age that like it's second nature to me. So I could totally believe that the tutorials do not do a very good job teaching you the mechanics. And I learned them from Pikmin 2, which I think does a better job explaining the mechanics.
Sure, yeah, so, I'm sure it just goes into what we were talking about before, where it is like you're expected to do trial and error. It's a learning process. Did you have an issue with that, Jordan, at all?
No, not that one specifically, because I played Pikmin 3, so I knew how to like control the Pikmin already. So I think that's kind of where like some of me having a more pleasant experience with this game than you guys came from, was that like, one, I wasn't trying to like no death it or anything, but two, like I had played another Pikmin before, so I kind of understood how to like interact with the world. I will say the one thing that I was like peeved over was switching between Pikmin, because in Pikmin 3 you just hit the D-pad and you can toggle between them.
Yeah, it's that way in Pikmin 2 too.
Yeah, in this one you have to like get them to separate and then go over and select the ones that you want, which was like fine, and this is ultimately like a nitpick more than like a real complaint, but it was definitely like, man, I'm missing that feature.
Yeah, that's an absolutely valid complaint. I think that is, in my opinion, the one thing that makes Pikmin 1... Well, the couple of glitches and the inability to save some Pikmin from drowning or being lit on fire are the things that make 1 a little bit less approachable than the other games. The quality of life stuff. So in Pikmin 2 and 3... if a Pikmin is lit on fire or drowning, you can whistle at them and pull them out of whatever's happening and like keep them safe. And you can do that in Pikmin 1, but some Pikmin randomly are predestined to just die if that happens. Like when 5 Pikmin get lit on fire, the game rolls, and some of them might be just unsavable, which is just super punishing. So stuff like that's just like was changed later for quality of life really sticks out like a sore thumb in this game, especially if you've played 3 like you have, Jordan.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and like get off the complaint horse real quick, because I think outside of that, like for a game developed and released in 2001, I think this is actually like a really like cleverly designed game. Mostly just with how like, between tossing the Pikmin and the C-stick and stuff like that, it's like a very like, once you understand how to play the game and you understand the controls, I think it feels really good, and it is very satisfying to use the Pikmin. I was a bit of a monster, and I did not care about how many Pikmin died. Because I was like, I'm a scientist. I'm here to complete a goal and get off this planet. I don't know who these little dudes are, but they're willing to like go to death for me. So I role playing as the monstrous scientist man from outer space. Yeah, I was just tossing them. I just came in tossing them.
You can make the utilitarian argument that you're helping them as long as you make more than you lost.
Oh, and I did do that.
There you go. Yeah. If you bring the Bulborb back and it makes more than you lost killing it, then you've helped the Pikmin.
Oh, well, I can't do the math. I can't do marginal value analysis on the lives of Pikmin. I left my calculator at home. So, I guess I'm just going to have to sit here and actually, feel empathy for those poor Pikmin that got swallowed up as I was blasting off into space.
Cringe.
Oh, yeah.
No, I started doing the no death runs because it made me too sad to watch the Pikmin die. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, it makes sense. It actually took me, this is another thing that I felt wasn't really explained all that well, but this was like a huge, like a step up for me, is when I realized that if you kill an enemy and you take the enemy back to your to the pods, one learning you could do that was a step up. But then also when I was like trying to get as many blue Pikmin as I could, realizing that I could kill a huge thing with red Pikmin, then come back and have blue Pikmin take it back to the blue onion, and then get a huge upgrade on my number of blue Pikmin, that was another huge step up. But as far as I know, it doesn't tell you to do that. Maybe it does eventually if like the game finds out you need to like know that. But I had to just kind of come up with that on my own, which that felt really good. But I kind of wish I could have been pushed a little bit to get to that point.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning moments like that in this game, and that's something that I love about it. And if you're taking too long, the game will tell you, like Olimar will have an inkling about it in his little end of day log that kind of indicates like, hey bro, this is what you're supposed to be doing. But it is really cool to discover stuff like that, like bringing the bodies back, or like when you pluck the grass and get nectar, you can get flowers on the heads of your Pikmin that make them faster and stronger. Just discovering stuff like that feels really good.
I would rather it be that way than, a bunch of text like telling you that. And, like, I do agree to a certain extent with you, Will, that like they should have maybe created a scenario that pushed you more towards doing that. Maybe not like telling you to do it explicitly, but like presenting a situation where maybe you lose access to your red and yellow Pikmin and your blue Pikmin got to do the work, and that happens.
Yeah, I think if they just put an enemy on the first day, and in order to have enough Pikmin to lift the ship part, you had to bring it back, that would have been an elegant solution.
Yeah, but that said, if we have to choose one or the other, I'm not saying they did here, but if we had to choose one or the other, I would definitely take the experimentation and like failure over just being told how to do it, because I do think, to your point, Will, about it feeling really good, it feels great when you figure that sort of stuff out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This I know that there are a lot of different ideas, and they were clearly trying a lot of stuff. But like I mentioned before, all of that stuff still, to me, coming into this fresh, seems like a complete whole. It's not like with some things where I can tell, oh, they tacked this on, or they cut this, like this was clearly going to be something else, but they cut it out because they ran out of time or something like that. This feels like a complete, like, realized whole. And I know things aren't really designed that way. So that's definitely a point in the designer's, favor, that they were able to create such a package that seemed, at least to me, as like a fully realized thing, with all of the different things that they were trying to do. I really appreciated that this game really felt like it had a thesis to it,
Yeah, I think it's that Miyamoto polish that they were really in touch with back then, and like still kind of are now, but that the Miyamoto polish just makes sure everything just kind of meshes together really well. I know I'm like a Nintendo fanboy, but that's definitely something in their favor.
Yeah, no, I'm the same here. I also feel pretty strongly about, like, I mean, as a Nintendo fan, you got to kind of recognize, like, the thing that draws a lot of people to Nintendo is just that Miyamoto, like, idea, Will, and him just kind of being able to go crazy with a game and like put a bunch of weird shit in it like this is just, it's great. Especially going back and seeing a lot of their like ideas that maybe didn't make it to future entries. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So Frederick, I know you've been playing this game forever and ever. So you probably have a lot of fun moments that you remember. Can you tell us about a Pikmin story where you that was really fun or really like nerve-wracking for you over your years of playing?
Oh, over my years of playing, yeah, I've got a lot. I remember like the first time that I wiped Pikmin and decided to keep going and ended up getting the bad ending. When I was a kid, that really sucked. But I mean, it's kind of a learning experience. There's a bad ending where you don't get enough ship parts. There's a good ending where you get all of the necessary ship parts, and then there's like 3 that aren't necessary, and that's how you get like the perfect ending. And I'd never gotten the bad ending before, and I just hated it. I felt like I wasted all of that time, but like didn't really understand that it was about like learning from each playthrough. I remember the first time that I killed the armored cannon beetle in one attack cycle felt really good. Because it's just like you have to kind of be frame perfect to do that, and like I'm not super good at like fast paced stuff like that. And just like the first time, every time like I've reset a day like 4 times over something that I feel like is bullshit, and then I finally beat it. Like it's just a really really good feeling. I'd say most of my fun moments kind of tie into some of the quick hits questions about like favorite bosses, favorite enemies, stuff like that. But what were your guys' most fun moments in your playthrough? What were your favorite things that kind of happened?
I want to know what yours is, Jordan.
Fun moments, I think, would probably be the first time. So I struggled, and this is going to kind of... no, it won't come up later. But I struggled with the last boss a lot.
The final boss?
Yes, the final boss.
Yeah.
He's like the sloppier version of the mushroom frog dudes you see earlier in the game. I'm not familiar with all of the creature names, but you know the iconic Pikmin enemy. But
yeah, the Bulborbs.
Yeah. He's just like this big old tonguey, like gross looking version of them, and he kicked the crap out of me a lot. And I actually spent like my last 3 days trying to take that thing out. And actually winning that boss fight was a big moment for me. That was like the big like I have conquered Pikmin moment.
Did you get him to eat bomb rocks?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was gonna say that's the trick. Yeah, he's definitely tough, but he is a very fun, very rewarding final boss fight. I especially like how there's that puzzle that requires you to use all 3 of the kinds of Pikmin before you fight him, which is just like, it really makes you feel like everything's kind of coming together. But yeah, that is a fun moment. He is an incredibly fucking hard final boss.
I was going to say, I didn't think I was going to finish the game on him. Like, he was holding me up so bad that I was like, I think I might not be able to make it before day 30.
Were you like Iron Manning? Were you not resetting any days, even if you like lost a bunch of Pikmin?
Yeah, no, I didn't reset.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Jordan's just a pro gamer, so it was no trouble for him.
No, it was trouble.
You're welcome to be pro gamer, but I'm firmly anti gamer.
No, that's okay.
Based. Well, I'll just go ahead and say my most fun moment, and again, we're kind of getting into the quick hits here, but my most fun moment was when I finally like figured out that like the strategy for killing the mushroom boss that's in the one area. And that's the first boss I was not the first boss I found, but that was the first one I was able to like do. Once I realized that there was a strategy to it and I had to figure it out, it became fun to play the boss and then also to actually like enact that strategy to kill the boss. So that was like the most fun that I had playing this game. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the rest of it was kind of at a high stress level. So it was fun, but I wasn't like giddy playing it while like trying to kill the mushroom and realizing that I was making progress on it was probably the most fun I had during the game.
Yeah. Did you how quickly did you figure out that you should do the most dangerous thing early in the day?
I wouldn't say that thought has ever crossed my mind.
Well, if you're going to reset, you want to reset the thing that you have. You don't want to reset the thing that you succeeded at that it was hard. You know what I mean? Right. Like if you're having trouble with the mushroom, you want to like do something easy later in the day after you beat the mushroom, so you're not like risking a bad reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, okay. So speaking of theses, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but
Theses, I think.
Theses, yeah. Speaking of theses, one of the main theses of this podcast, the Dandies podcast, is look, I'm an anti-intellectual bumpkin. I got raw chicken brain. I ain't trying to think. I ain't trying to be I ain't trying to be strategic. I'm just trying to collect my cute Pikmin and then kill them in water.
Nice, very cool. You're a real Barbara Bush gamer.
All right. That being said, I think we're all in agreement that we did have fun playing this game, despite all of it, brick walls and struggles as you got through it. But why don't we get into some quick hits?
Yeah,
Okay,
that sounds good.
Yeah, we've kind of already hit on this, but let's just talk about our favorite bosses. I didn't see a lot. I think the last boss I was able to do was the huge armored beetle. But
I love the armored cannon beetle.
Yeah. But I'd say the mushroom was a lot of fun for me for all the things that I said. It was a step up moment for me. Jordan, which boss was your favorite?
My boy, Beady Longlegs.
Oh my god!
Hell yeah!
So I just loved its design, like aesthetically. It's just it looks goofy, but also I love how it. I guess let's just put it this way: dunks on your Pikmin. I learned the hard way that like he just absolutely like shits on them if you get too close to him, and you have to like kind of rely on like tosses as opposed to like kind of waving your Pikmin over him. It was a really fun boss fight. I loved that one.
Yeah, Will, did you get to play against the Beady Longlegs?
That was the first boss that I found, and it just smashed all my Pikmin. I was like, oh hell no, I'm gonna go do something else. So I didn't.
That is a good call. Yeah, I will say, Will, to your credit, that is the run killer for no death runs. Like if you're trying to like do an Iron Man no death run, that is the hardest boss. There's just no way to cheese it. You have to just fight it the way the game intends you to fight it. So
sure.
if you're gonna run away from a boss, I agree with it being that one for sure.
And it just incidentally kills the shit out of your Pikmin just by walking around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In the later games, he can actually leave the arena that he's in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just like go fuck with whatever on the map. And on one of the challenge mode levels, after you beat the game, there's like 3 of those. It's pretty rad. But yeah, I like that guy a lot. He's definitely the hardest one because you can't really cheese him. I think my favorite boss is the armored cannon beetle, mostly because I streamed the game with my friend for a while ago, and he took something like 30 tries on the armored cannon beetle, and he just would not let me tell him how to beat it. But once you learn that you can just get that satisfyingly, let him like slurp up one Pikmin into his little face hole, and then like you can attack his butt. Like once you get that down, it's just really that is one of those learning moments, and I love watching people play this game for the first time and learning how to beat the Amy Coney Barrett. Because it's just like very, very... It's one of those satisfying learning moments that I think this game is great at creating.
I do love that name. Is that your nickname or is that like the community's nickname?
It's the Armored Cannon Beetle. It was abbreviated to ACB when people are discussing like Pikmin online, and then I saw like people talking about ACB on Twitter referencing Amy Coney Barrett, and so I started using them interchangeably.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed that boss too. That's the last one that I was able to get to. But let's talk about our favorite enemies. I don't have a favorite enemy, but absolutely fuck those little dirt beetles that come up out of the ground and swarm.
Oh, the sheer grubs.
Fuck them.
Yeah. They're immune while they're biting down on your Pikmin. Like most enemies, you can save your Pikmin, but once they bite, they can't take damage until they've eaten it. Oof. Hate those guys as well. Sheer grubs are maybe the bane of my existence. I also hate wollywogs, the frogs that jump up and slam down on your Pikmin. I'm sure you experienced a few of those, Will, and Jordan, obviously you experienced several. Do you kill those, or do you just try to distract them while your Pikmin carry away the treasure?
I tried to kill everything just for the sake of getting more Pikmin. Because, like I said, I didn't really like lean any sort of importance on my Pikmin lives, and I was just like, increased number. That's all,
Yeah. Will, did you tend to kill wollywogs or just dodge them?
I attempted to kill them, but that never worked out for me. So like that one part that's in the big thing of water and it has a couple of those frogs around it, I was not able to get it. I kind of gave up on that and just kept trying to do other things. So it was incredibly frustrating, and I just kind of stopped dealing with it.
That's fair, yeah. I usually kill one and then distract the other because I don't want to take the time to kill both. Most enemies can be punched to death if you're patient enough by Olimar, but I would not say that's an advisable strategy.
Oh, I will say, I don't know if you would classify it as an enemy, but I did really like those. I don't know what they're called, but they don't fight you. They just kind of scurry around like the little tiny beetles and stuff like that. They scurry around. I think they grab the little tabs and tried to get them away from you. But the fact that those were just
the bread bug.
The fact that those were just kind of scurrying around just as almost kind of like a set piece was really fun and really added to what I was talking about earlier, where this feels like a very living, vibrant world.
Yeah, were you able to kill the bread bug?
I never tried.
Yeah, he's got a shit part. You put more Pikmin than are necessary to carry the thing back, and they'll pull him with it, and then he bonks his head on your onion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's pretty fun. He's technically a boss within the
That's so cool.
Game, but yeah. There's just so much cool shit in this game. But yeah, I love the bread bug too. He's also one of my favorites.
For sure. Jordan, I know you talked a little bit, but did you have just a top favorite enemy that you saw?
Yeah, you encounter it a little bit later in the game. Well, relatively speaking, I guess. But the Mamudo, I think it's called. I had to look its name up. But it's a little heart-shaped rock-looking dude.
And he just smashes your Pikmin into the ground.
Yeah. No, mostly just because he looks cute. It was just a very aesthetically pleasing enemy that I came across later on in the game, and I'm just now learning this, but apparently you can only encounter it on even number days.
Yeah, there's a different guy there on odd number days.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
When you go back to the crash site.
Gotcha. Okay, because I was surprised going back there because I had noticed that there was another part on the initial planet or whatever. I guess I missed it the first time I was on the menu, but I went back to go there and I came across it and pain in my ass, but I really enjoyed its look.
Yeah, and that's another feeling of completion that the game provides. There's another part in the first place that you land that requires you to have all three of the Pikmin. It really makes things come full circle, and I think that lends itself to the sense of completeness. But yeah, I love all of those enemies. I hate all of the types of blowhogs, like the puffy blowhogs and stuff. They fuck everything up because they blow your Pikmin onto other stuff and make them awaken other enemies, and I just really can't deal with it. But all of the enemies are frustrating in kind of a fun way, I think.
All right, so how about favorite area of the game? I only saw, other than the beginning, the tutorial area, as you would call it, I only saw 3 areas. And I have to say, I didn't really care for the forest naval area. That place was pretty frustrating for me. I did get to see the next area, the spring, and it looked very intriguing. And I wish I had had a little bit more time to explore that area. So I was really vibing with the vibe of the spring area. Fred, what is your favorite area?
Yeah, Will, the only area you missed is the last one that only has one part.
Okay.
So you saw all of the areas. I don't like the distant springs so much just because there are a lot of aerial enemies that will show up anywhere on the map. So if you're not trying to get Pikmin randomly snatched away from you and replanted in the ground or blown away, you have to kill all of those before you can start getting any work done. You have to track them down and kill them. And I find that really frustrating. I would say my favorite area is the Forest of Hope. The second area where you discover the yellow Pikmin, mostly because I love both of the bosses there, the Armored Cannon Beetle and the Burrowing Snagret. I don't know if you got to play against the Burrowing Snagret, Will, but it's an interesting boss. But I also just love the way that it teaches you the mechanics of the game, with the positioning of the different fences, and it's really where the game opens up and lets you do stuff in whatever order you want, and I like the freedom. And I also just love the music in that area. I love the music in the whole game, but I love the music in the Forest of Hope especially.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually going to come out and say that I'm on the opposite end, Will. I loved the Forest Naval, mostly just for the vibes. The music in that area I love. I don't know. It was just so different because the rest of the game's kind of foresty, where this one was more caverny. Is that the right description?
Yeah. I mean, cavernous.
Yeah. And I just liked the vibes of that area a lot. It was also I guess where the game was kind of to what you pointed out, Fred, that it was really challenging your gameplay knowledge up to that point. And it seemed like a lot more improvisation was needed there. I guess that's where I had a lot of my satisfying moments in.
No, that
yeah, and
That makes total sense because it's like when the game like really like once you're able to get to that area is when the game really gets serious, and that's accompanied with the music and just like the darker kind of visual appearance of the area. It's like when okay, the real game has started now.
Yeah, and Will mentioned triumphing over the puff stool there. Like, yeah, it's got some tough fights, some interesting. It's got the most interesting treasure puzzles, I think I would say, of any of the area, like puzzles to get to the ship parts of any of them, I would say. So I do like that. I don't care for the music. I'm not on that vibe, but I respect it.
There is woke and there is broke. You've revealed your identity.
All right, well, we kind of talked about this a little bit. I kind of mentioned this, and what got me thinking about this was in our previous episode, when we talked about Resident Evil 7, we forgot to talk about whether Ethan was a dweeb. So I'm going to go ahead and ask now, do you all think that Olimar is a dweeb?
No, but I could be persuaded.
I'm gonna say yes, he is a dweeb, and that's why I like him. I think.
Okay.
In this game, he is a dorky explorer science man. He is exactly like what you think of whenever you think of a dweeb. He's also like got some like ethical quandaries that come up as he's tossing these creatures into enemy mouths to kind of fulfill his needs. But I don't know. Like I like Olimar and his dweeb status.
Sure, I totally understand. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Olimar fucks.
I mean, canonically, he has 2 children, so.
Yeah. So Olimar, all good in my book. I think I was turned off a little bit by his design, but I really grew to like him. So yeah, I think Olimar was a good choice for a protagonist for this game. So I think we kind of already talked about whether we won or how many days. I got about halfway through. I did 13 parts and then got to day 15. I definitely had days that were just like me not knowing what I was doing and just, like kind of just walking around trying to figure out what I was supposed to do next. But I felt like I stuck pretty close to what you were saying, Fred, where it's about 1 part a day.
Yeah, I think as a newer player, you want to bank a couple days because the final boss, like the final area, kind of takes a little bit. Yeah, about sticking to 1 part a day will usually get you there.
Sure, yeah, and you finished it, right, Jordan?
Yeah, I finished on day 28,
nice.
But the last 3 days were pretty much consumed by the final boss.
Yeah,
right.
I was able to actually beat my record. I cut it down. I shaved a day off. I beat it in 12 days. I was able to do the distant spring in 2 days, which usually is what kills me. Right. So, yeah.
And to cap off our great discussion about Pikmin, let's talk about our body count. So you've been playing for years, Fred, so I'm sure overall you've killed way more Pikmin than we have. But just for us playing like this last week or so, how many Pikmin did you get killed? And let me tell you, my hands are bloody.
I got 0 killed. I don't get Pikmin killed anymore. The last time I Iron Man the game, I think I got like 12 killed.
All right, pro gamer, how well did you do?
You're asking me, the pro gamer?
Yes.
Well, I didn't see the final death counter, but last time I checked, it was over like 600 something.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I said, means to an end.
Oh, okay. So you killed more than me, but I felt the weight of it more than you did.
I felt nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
They screamed up to their gods and heard nothing in response.
Man. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I continued on my trajectory and got to the end of the game. I bet our numbers would be similar, and most of that would be from me just not knowing what I was doing and just drowning a whole bunch a couple of times at the beginning of the game. But
remember, you can whistle at them if they're in the water and save them.
Okay. I did try that. It didn't seem to do anything, but I guess maybe I did save some and just didn't realize. I don't know. But anyway, okay, so that is Pikmin. Despite all of the kind of things that we talked about, overall, I thought this was a great game. I'm really glad that I got to try it, and I'm not opposed to playing more Pikmin games.
Okay, do you think you're going to finish this one eventually?
I have other things that I need to do, but I'm not going to delete any of it from my computer. I'm definitely going to hang on to it, and if I feel the urge to go back to it, which I have before with other games, I'm going to keep it saved on my computer so it's always there if I want to go back. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah, for me, I don't know where my love of the GameCube ends and this game begins. I debated whether or not I was gonna, risk seeming like I was trying to be nice to our guests and stuff like that coming out of it, but I think I would regret not like sharing my thoughts in the future. But yeah, I would give this a dandy AF.
Nice.
Yeah, this. I know it's gonna sound like I'm kissing Fred's ass because he's his first time on here, but this game is right up my alley. This is a me game, and also like I got to play my GameCube, which I haven't touched in a couple of years.
Wait, did you buy the game physically for this?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh, it's still expensive, right?
I was able to get it off of eBay for like $18.
How?
Wow. It's not like it was a perfect copy. It's got some scratches, but I hopped on there. They had a bid or buy option. It was like bid starting at 10 and then like a buy at like 18, and I just bought it.
Nice.
Okay, awesome. I'm surprised.
Maybe they didn't know what they had.
Maybe not. I don't know. But I got it, and I hooked it up to my PC monitor, and I played it on my GameCube. It was nice.
Nice. Yeah, I have it for the GameCube, but I'm terrified of it getting scratched up. I've already ruined like 2 copies of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance that way, which is not a good game to ruin.
That's like over like $100 or something like that, right?
You are correct. Yes. I've only seen Pikmin at used game stores for like upwards of at least 70. So
holy shit!
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. You had a find, I think, if the game still works. But yeah, I'm glad you gave it a dandy AF. I don't know what your rating scale is.
That's it. It's either that or not.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a dandy AF, but I exhorted it, so.
Yeah, that's against the rules, but I can give it that.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So far, the only things that I've gotten a dandy AF, you gave an anime a dandy AF, and I gave, what was it? Edith Finch. What Remains of Edith Finch? I gave that a dandy AF, and I think that's all that we've done so far.
So this would be 2.5 dandy AFs. Whenever we eventually get our like super slick website up, that it'll have like a half an AF sticker on it, I assume.
This one is.
Yeah.
I'm confused. This one is half.
Because he didn't give it to it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah.
But that was Pikmin. Frederick, thank you so much for the exhortation. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for joining us and having this. Honestly, great discussion about this game.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I had a wonderful time. I'm really glad you guys liked the game. I would love to be on this again, and of course, Jordan, you're welcome to come on to Gut Shot to talk about the Magic sets coming up if that's something you're interested in. We'll book you. Just shoot me your message and we'll make that happen. I've really, really enjoyed this. This has been incredibly fun. I guess this is where I plug myself.
No, hang on a little bit because we're going to do our back matter, and we definitely want you to participate in that. We'll do your plugs towards the end of the show. But that being said, it is now time for next week's exhortation. Are you ready, Jordan?
Yeah, lay it on me, Daddy.
Okay, next week we are playing Call of Goats.
Oh.
The classic.
No. Sorry. That's not the name. Oh, I messed the name up. It's such a silly name. That's why I messed it up.
Is it Call of Goaty?
Next week we are playing Goat of Duty. That's right. It's Call of Duty with goats. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say. It's an arena shooter. You're a goat and you try to kill other goats with guns. It's pretty sweet, and I think you're really gonna like it.
There it is. Dandies has officially jumped the shark.
Yeah, for sure. This game does not take itself seriously. Just know that going in. But my exhortation for next episode is Goat of Duty.
Well, I'm excited to check it out. I'm a little worried that you just literally went online and found some shovelware, but I'm here for it.
Oh no! I love this game. I have like 30 hours in it. So
no, he was telling me about this game like a month ago. He was raving about it.
Yeah. You can check my Steam. I definitely have a lot of hours put into this. So I I legitimately want to have a conversation about this game, and I really do think you're going to like it.
All right, well, color me interested now. That's fascinating.
All right. With that said, why don't we get into our back matter? This is where we kind of talk about what we've been doing other than, podcast and exhortation stuff. And I want to start off with Fred. I know that you're busy with, the Gut Shot podcast and you have some other stuff going on. But like other than, Pikmin and all that, what have you been up to lately? What kind of media, video games, movies, music, what have you been getting into lately?
I took the worst quiz of my life today. It was about DNA for like the general science class that I had to take, and it was fucking awful. I learned what an amino acid was on the fly. But beyond that, I've been playing a disgusting amount of Hades. I got into it late. I didn't have the disposable income for it until recently, and it is one of my favorite games of all time already. I love it so much. Jordan, I need you to exhort it to Will so that I can talk to him about it. And then I've been listening to a lot of Dismemberment Plan's Emergency and I. It's a great album. Love it. And have since I was a kid. It was one of my mom's favorite albums, too. So I've just been kind of jamming that. A little car seat headrest. Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Fred is very much he's very much a music head. Like he has very patrician taste.
I know all 100 of the Gex.
Well, Jordan, you heard the man. Hades, we gotta do it.
It's on the docket. Rest assured we're going to play it. I think it's more just a time and place thing because this is a game that I want to make sure Will actually gets to play because I know both of you guys are kind of deep in the school semester woes right now. And I don't want to give it to him on a week where that's a problem, but it is coming. It is going to happen.
All right, sounds good. How about you, Jordan? What have you been up to?
So this last week, I have slowly progressed more of The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan, I guess, documentary. It's kind of hard to call it a facts-only documentary because it's definitely from a perspective. But I am going to follow up my statements last time and just continue to reiterate that even if you are not a basketball fan, you should watch this. It is incredible and very funny and emotional. And I think you could be nowhere near the sports world, but if you were I hate to say these words, but a 90s kid or person, this is it's gonna hit for you.
Nice.
But it's also just a very interesting study of these professional athletes, and their egos. It's been really fascinating to watch. Other than that, and other than Pikmin and other than work, I picked up Super Mario 3D World on the Switch and been playing that with one of my girls. And that has been a lot of fun, but also infuriating because they have to come up with a solution for the one person controlling the screen and bubbling you off the screen. That is just, I cannot stand that. She is very much we're going to speedrun this game. I don't care about collectibles, but I'm I want to pick up everything. I want to get all these stars.
You're a pro gamer.
I am a pro gamer.
Yeah, I imagine that sounds very frustrating. I remember one of the 2D Marios where you could throw the other players. That was the awful one to play with other people.
Oh, you can still do that. And it is...
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I have thrown her off of a ledge a couple of times.
And then you turned on the game.
Yeah. But yeah, that's been my week. What about you, Will?
That's right. Hello and welcome to the Dismember podcast, the only Magic the Gathering podcast inside a media criticism podcast. This week we're discussing should Wizards of the Coast create Dark Souls Commander decks. Jordan, how do you feel about this?
No.
Fred, how do you feel about this?
I don't like Dark Souls, but yeah, it seems the world building seems cool enough. Yeah.
Okay, I actually am against the idea. I would much rather see dual decks Splinter Cell versus
Hitman.
Dual decks Splinter Cell versus Metal Gear. All right, that's been the Dismember podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter, nowhere because we're not on Twitter. We'll see you all next time. So, anyway, again, Frederick, thank you so much for being on our podcast. This was just a really great discussion, and we'd love to have you back sometime.
I want to thank you and your plugs.
You're welcome from me and my plugs. I will go ahead and give them now. You can find me on Twitter at fredass_b. You can find me on Twitch at warcrimesUwu. And I make content for the YouTube channel Stevensville Gamers with my friend Mike. So you can find me there as well. And of course, I am the co-host of the Magic the Gathering podcast Gut Shot, along with Will. And you can, of course, find us on Twitter at GutShotPod or on YouTube at GutShot.
Well, that sounds great. Everybody follow Frederick. He is just a really funny guy. Like, I really appreciate him allowing me to coast on his humor on our podcast. So he's a good follow. Follow him on everything. All right. And that being said, I think we're about time to button this one up. How do you feel about that, Jordan?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's close its blouse.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Disc Dandies. You can follow Will on Twitter at AgroRhetoric and myself at Action Pancake. We would love it if you would follow along with our exhortations and stay up to date on all the latest Disc Dandies excitement at Disc Dandies Pod.
Join them here next episode for another spin with the Disc Dandies. Goodbyes.
Later.
I was looking through I was trying to get you a gift for the anniversary of our podcast coming up, but they do not make a Ted Kaczynski Funko Pop, and the custom Funko Pops do not allow, quote, controversial figures, so I don't know if he counts. I sent them an email.
Right, yeah. Well, we'll see. Their people, I'll contact your people. Well, I have high hopes for this. I think the people have spoken. They know what they want. You know, it's free money. They're leaving money on the table. That's all.
Well, tell me, how does Funko handle all of, like, the celebrity cancellations? Do they, like, retroactively pull Funkos off the market once they become controversial?
No, I think that would create a perverse incentive, like with the Corona Godzilla card.
Yeah.
Like where it just becomes worth so much more, and like so much more press is put on it that they would prefer to just kind of let it slide.
So I'm sure they still have Kevin Spacey Funko Pops out there.
Ooh.
I was about to say, like, this isn't funny, but wouldn't it be really hilarious if the Louis C.K. Funko Pop was like the most rare and expensive one?
I still got my Bin Laden Funko Pops filling my closet.
Made
trying to find a way to unload those. No.
Oh, God. Back from whenever he was popular, you know?
Yeah, from when people knew him for things other than terrorism.